I live alone in a quiet part of Portland, Oregon. It's one of those small streets where the houses are spaced just far enough apart that no one would hear you scream, or so I thought. Last year, I decided to install a home security camera. Nothing fancy, just something to keep an eye on the front door and the driveway. It was more for peace of mind than anything else. I never expected it to capture the impossible. It all started one night, around 2:33 a.m. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, jolting me awake. A notification, motion detected. My heart did a little jump, the way it always does when something unexpected happens in the middle of the night. I fumbled for my phone, my eyes still adjusting to the screen's glare, and opened the security app. The live feed showed my living room. At first glance, everything looked normal. The room was empty. I don't have any pets, so there was no obvious explanation. Just the faint, shifting glow from the TV I'd accidentally left on, casting long shadows across the floor. But then, I saw it. A shadow that didn't belong. It was stretching across the hardwood, long and dark, moving with a slow, deliberate quality that sent a shiver down my spine. This wasn't the swaying of a tree branch outside the window. It wasn't my own reflection caught in some weird angle of light. It stopped right in the middle of the room. I held my breath, my eyes glued to the screen. The shadow seemed to bend down, as if it were examining something on the floorboards, and then, it turned. Its form shifted, and what looked like a face lifted and stared directly into the camera lens. It was a human-like shape, but wrong, utterly wrong. The features were distorted, stretched into a grotesque smile that made my stomach twist into a knot. It was the kind of smile that wasn't happy, it was predatory. My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation, a glitch, a weird reflection. I had to see for myself. Throwing back the covers, I crept out of my bedroom and ran down the hall to the living room. I flipped on the light. Nothing. The floor was empty. The air was still. There was no sound, no sign that anything had been there at all. I let out a shaky breath, trying to convince myself it was just the old camera acting up, a bad angle, a trick of the light. It had to be, but just as that thought brought a sliver of relief, my phone buzzed in my hand. Another notification, motion detected. My blood ran cold. With trembling fingers, I looked back at the screen. The camera feed had refreshed. The shadow was back. But it wasn't in the middle of the room anymore. Now, it was standing in the far corner, partially obscured by the darkness, just watching, waiting. I swear, I had just looked at that exact spot, and there was nothing there. It was impossible. For the next hour, I was trapped in a cycle of pure terror. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone, too scared to move, too scared to look away. Every time my eyes darted away from the screen, even for a second, the shadow moved. It crept closer. First it appeared next to the couch, then by the entrance to the kitchen. Then my heart nearly stopped when I saw it standing at the bottom of the staircase that led right up to my bedroom. Panic set in. I scrambled to check every single door and window in the house. Everything was locked, bolted, secure. There were no signs of a break-in, no forced entry, yet this thing, it was inside with me. How was it getting in? My rational mind was screaming, but there were no rational answers. I stood in the darkened hallway, staring towards the living room, trying to will myself to be brave. I caught my reflection in the glass of the window pane by the front door, and then I froze. For a split second, I saw it, standing right behind me in the reflection. It's impossible. Twisted smile was mirrored over my own terrified face. I whipped around, my heart hammering against my ribs. The hallway was empty, there was nothing there, but the camera feed on my phone told a different story. It showed the shadow, now closer than ever before, leaning forward as if curious, its horrifying smile stretching even wider. Then I heard it, a sound that wasn't on my phone, not from the camera speaker. It was in the room with me, a soft, raspy whisper that seemed to come from all directions at once. "Why are you watching me?" I dropped my phone. It clattered to the floor. Primal fear took over. I lunged for the front door, yanking on the handle, fumbling with the deadbolt. It wouldn't budge. It was locked, and my shaking hands couldn't seem to open it. I felt trapped. The shadow, it felt like it was everywhere now. The air grew heavy and cold. The darkness in the corners of the room seemed to deepen, to coalesce. I scrambled to pick up my phone, my only thought to record this, to get proof. But the camera app had frozen. The screen flickered and died. Every device in the house began to act strangely. The lights buzzed and flickered. The TV screen went to static, and then I saw it, not on a screen, not in a reflection. I saw it with my own eyes. It was standing in the middle of my living room. Real, solid, a three-dimensional darkness that seemed to absorb the light around it, and it was smiling. That same impossible, horrifying smile. It was alive. It began to move towards me, not with speed, but with a slow, patient glide that was more terrifying than any sudden lunge. The air became frigid. I could feel its attention on me, a physical pressure, as if it was staring right at my chest, feeling my frantic heartbeat, listening to the terrified breaths caught in my throat. With one last surge of adrenaline, I threw my entire body against the front door. The lock finally gave way with a loud crack. I stumbled out into the cold Portland night, gasping for air, my lungs burning. I didn't stop running until I was across the street, where I finally turned to look back at my house. It was dark, silent, still. It looked completely empty, as if none of it had ever happened. For a moment, I thought I was safe. I thought it was over, and then my phone buzzed in my pocket. A notification, motion detected. My hand shook as I pulled it out. The feed showed my living room. The shadow was there. It was sitting on my couch, in my spot, as if it were just watching TV, as if it were waiting for me to come back, and then, as if it knew I was watching it through the screen, its head slowly turned. It looked directly into the camera, and it smiled. I sold the house. I didn't even pack everything. I just left. I left Portland and never looked back. I changed my number, tried to start over, tried to forget. But the fear never really leaves you. It becomes a part of you. And even now, every single night, I find myself checking my phone before I go to sleep. And sometimes there's a notification waiting for me. Motion detected. I never open it. I can't, because I know what I'll see. I know that somewhere, somehow, the impossible is inside, watching, waiting, and smiling. Thanks for watching. If you have your own unexplainable stories, share them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more strange tales. Stay safe out there.